PHA disposition of funds are loaned to a new project development, assuming type of a component unit, with payback of 30 years. Do these payments go back to disposition proceeds or another account such as restricted development in another fund? If this loan payment goes back into disposition funds and public housing, won't these funds be taken back by HUD after the end date to spend the disposition funds? So my thinking here, and Chris, tell me if I'm wrong here, obviously, that these funds, once they are, you have the funds, they can be transferred into another AMP column from that standpoint. From the loan, if the funds are paid back, I still believe they go back into the other AMP column, which then can be used to transfer between the AMPs. The question is, will it still be calculated as the total operating reserve in the future? I would say yes, it would be in the future with those proceeds.
It's a business activity.
I don't know how you're going to get the funds from public housing and give it back to the business activity fund.
It was loaned to the business activity.
Right, but then the funds are being paid back.
Right.
And they're being paid back to public housing.
That's my question.
And then they're going to be paid back to the other AMP category. So typically,
I don't think those funds, once the loan is paid back, are subject to federal oversight. I think that's just program income, and they could do what they want with it.
well, I know for the Hope 6 grants,
They can. We have.
there's Hope 6 grants where they get loaned out, and usually in these deals, they don't come back. You know, that they'll set up the loan, but they never really get paid back. In the allocation adjustment process, we looked into that, and the legal opinion we got is if that money does get repaid, it comes back to the PHA, to their public housing program, and it comes back in the color of the money it left. It becomes a Hope 6 grant again. So whatever Hope 6 allows you to use, you know, that's what those monies that you use, those proceeds that came back you use for. My guess for disposition, it would be very similar. That you loan that money out, it came back. My guess is it would come back for whatever that SAC letter allowed for, but I don't know that for sure. I know for the Hope 6, because we asked that specifically, that it comes back for the Hope 6 use.
I'm just worried the length of time, 30 years of paying that back. What is HUD going to do with the money if I haven't spent it and then a lot of time for the disposition spend it, you know, to build new projects?
Chris doesn't care, he'll be raptured by the
I mean, does your approval say how quickly you have to spend that money?
We have 5 years to develop projects with this money.
Okay.
It doesn't say that they'll necessarily take it back in 5 years, but that's the amount of time that to replace the units to be sold.
But when you loaned it, aren't you building those units?
Yes.
Well, so that's what I'm thinking. You loaning it is going to satisfy that part.
Yeah.
You've loaned it, you've built it.
They're ACC units.
Yeah, now you're going to get it back, and my guess is you'll have to use it for future development, but I don't know if that time restriction would be there.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, that actually brings on a conversation I haven't had here today, but we have a lot of development going on with, say, TCAP, or, you know, some of these other funds. And they have interesting agreements to say, you know, we're going to put it on a note for 30 or 40 years, but, you know, if you don't repay the note, you get the money. And a lot of people are having trouble accounting for that too. So if you have that issue, contact me. I have specific guidance that was issued by the ACSET that kind of mirrors our capital grant program in multifamily, where you know you get a 40-year loan, but if you satisfy all the requirements, you don't repay it. So what happens to the money at the end, or what happens to all this and how to account for it, let me know. I've got options for you if that occurs. So there is guidance issued on some of it. Yes, sir.
We loaned replacement housing factors and capital fund money to a mixed finance development. They're paying that back. But we loaned it through our nonprofit. My understanding is that comes back to the nonprofit. It can stay in the nonprofit. It just has to be used for low income purposes.
the answer would be, for us, I think it comes back to every agreement. Because some of those would have negotiated field offices, and, nobody's gonna get involved in trying to change the color of the money that way.